right off the top of the bat, I always ask if there's anything that my normal question is if there's anything you did, the enemy team did, or your team did that messed you up. But I'm just gonna change it to the enemy team or your team because if you're doing something to mess you up, then we'll figure that out later.
I generally just threw this game like the enemy Genji and Sombra. Sombra kept hacking me. Uh, I have a hard time hitting Genjis, and their Genji was just hitting me, so
Okay.
that was not great. Um, and I don't know. I think I find Blizzard World a little bit difficult as well as Pharah.
Yeah,
But
Blizzard World for Fair is really rough. It's kind of like Junkertown. It's super open.
yeah,
There's not a lot of cover you can use other than like the turret thing that's like way back here, but that's
yeah.
pretty much it.
I played against ML7 on Blizzard World shortly after this, and lost horribly.
Oh, dude, he's probably
I
naming
did
you out of
almost
the air.
C9 him though, so that was fun.
C9ing his team or C9ing him?
His team.
Nice. So let's see. You said you're like 40, 50 for this game or whatever, give or take.
For this game. Since then I've got to 4130.
Dude, I like the matchmaking. You got the 4K and then you've got everybody else.
Yeah.
I had a game where I was like 4.3 and our team average was 38.88.
Oh my.
It was so bad. We lost so hard. There was oh god, the matchmaking's a blast. So
Yeah. Although I do quite like it when I'm in lower rank games because I feel more relaxed when I'm in higher rank games, and when I go against or with streamers, I get like mad performance anxiety.
oh,
Horrible.
so you didn't have
Like I
performance
went up
anxiety with
against
Dak, but you did with other people or just hiring games.
who's Dak?
Never mind.
I'm assuming that he's someone.
No, yeah,
But
we'll gloss over that.
I was up against ML7. My hand was literally shaking. I was in a game with Kabaji a while ago and Oni God, and I played like utter garbage. But to be fair, I was playing main tank, so
Oh, okay,
it's not
fair enough. So, do you get anxiety if you just queue up like say you queue into a high ranked game and there's no streamers? Do you get that anxiety, or is it only when there's somebody you recognize?
less so. In a higher rank game, I'm more just trying to focus. But I suppose me consciously trying to focus means I'm focusing less.
Yeah, you're putting your focus towards trying to focus.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, I was gonna say that like the best way to reduce that is to just grind and play a ton, but it seems like you already play a fair amount, so that's just
Yeah.
if you can put less effort into trying to focus and more effort into just playing. I think conveniently I can quote ML7 here. I think I don't remember his exact quote, but it was like the more you try hard, the worse you'll be because you're focusing on performing your absolute best rather than just performing your absolute best. Because like
Yeah.
if you've ever like he's super chill and he doesn't get worked up about anything really, and it's like that's a good mindset to have if you're able to play a ton because it keeps you focused on your own gameplay but also not focused on your own gameplay. I don't know if that
Yeah.
makes any sense at all, but
I have a hard time staying chill. Like the right side of my hand is a tiny bit swollen because I bash my desk quite a lot.
oh
So that is something that I need to stop. Although I've moved to uni, like college for Americans, and so I have a really sturdy desk. But before I
so
moved,
it
I had a
doesn't
really
break.
flimsy desk, and I removed my mouse mat from my desk, and my parents were like, "Angus, there's two freaking massive holes in your desk."
Jesus.
Um,
Yeah, as somebody who also tilts pretty hard, I've tilted to like desk hitting hard, but not all the time. If you get to the point, like I play really well when I first start playing, even if I'm not warmed up at all, just because I have no expectations. But as I perceive that I'm warming up, I start to hold myself to higher expectations.
yeah,
So if I tilt super hard, I need to take a break, and then I come back and just think that I'm going to be garbage again. And then because I think I'm garbage, I'm not worried about how garbage I am or am not, and so I end up playing better. It's like
Okay.
everybody knows that you play worse when you're tilted, but in this case, you play it worse like when you're like if tilt looks like a graph that goes up like this, at this point I'll start playing terribly. And so I need to stop doing anything, and then I'll think I'm down here again, but I'll actually still be like up here performance wise. So like as tilt
Yeah.
goes, whatever, you get the gist.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
Your comp, as Pharah, it's gonna suck having a Lucio.
I
Just
know.
you're gonna have to buddy up with this Ana real hard.
I think I was
Oh,
playing closer to the ground towards the start. At the start of Blizzard World, I only really go into the sky to jump the people on the back high ground, which is where Widows usually set up and support set up.
yeah. So the thing
But
with
before then, I
Blizzworld
just
is
stay on the
like
ground.
playing ground Pharah for first point is probably your best bet. So I think you play that right just because there's nothing you can really use other than that statue. And if you're using that
Yeah.
statue, you're exposed to every Widow spot ever. And
Yep.
you can't really go anywhere if you need to drop because you just drop into an open courtyard.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing
No,
with
I do.
point two. It's like ground Pharah honestly works the best, and then point three is where you can start to use action. Like you're basically playing Junkrat for the first 2 points, and then you become Pharah on the third point.
Yeah.
I will protect the innocent.
Sorry.
I think between rounds I edited it, so I cut out the middle bit.
Nice. Okay, so for you did the little boost up thing, which I would normally say is totally cool. However, because you're relying on an Ana and a Lucio, you're basically relying on an Ana. So
Yeah.
the little boost up, it's nice, but you're still left with like no HP. Well, not like no HP, but you're running on less HP than you otherwise have. And if they are running a Widow, that can matter because she can charge her headshots less, or just anything in
Damage boost.
general. Yeah, like if you've got a Mercy, go for it. That's pretty much the only time I endorse doing the little boost up is if you've got a Mercy or you've got an Ana who's aware that you're going to be doing that. But
Uh-huh.
for the most part, I would just say like stick to not doing that and then do it situationally. Don't ever have it be your default because it can get you killed a lot too.
Okay.
When you're spamming a Rhine shield like this, notice how their team is all like stuck up behind the Rhine for the most part. If you can
Yep.
boop the Rhine forward with your concussive blast, that exposes their backline to everything, including your own rockets like that or your own anonades or whatever. So booping the Rhine out of the way is absolutely critical because it's not as important right during this phase because your team's not able to push up quite yet. But
Yeah.
when your team does start pushing forward, if you boop them out of the way, then that's a huge pushing point.
I think because it's on a 12-second cooldown, I was saving it for like mid-fight because if we decide to push in and I've just used it to boop the Rhine out of the way, then I'm not going to be able to engage as hard as I could.
Yeah. I'm glad you're going for the Zen here. Let's see. You were discorded, which is smart to not engage on the McCree, but at the same point, you get a direct off on him. So you're discorded, but you get healed up afterwards. So right here, you healed up. I would either slowly boost up, or it's even worth it to invest your rocket booster to get up and just peek that McCree. Because once he's dead, because notice how he picked your Widow, he's also in a spot to pick at the rest of your backline. So it's sort of like you poking at their Zenyatta is equivalent to this McCree. And if they killed you, they would have saved their Zen. You killing this McCree would say, like, you could hear him combat roll, so he's back here somewhere. So boosting up sooner.
I actually pushed him and I almost died, I think.
You do
Oh no, I
die.
did die.
Right side, Sombra right
It's because you didn't capitalize on the fact that you already had a direct on him. Because if you went in on him earlier instead of looking around, because like you tell he dropped and that's smart. You didn't look like at the mini. Once you pick that Ana, I don't know.
I should have gotten it.
Yeah, I don't know how soon you realize those two are there, but playing ground Pharaoh works so long as you're not like trying to take fights you can't win. And conveniently, you're
Yeah.
against the Sombra and the McCree, two of the biggest
right
like
side,
Widow
Sombra right
claps.
side. Coming
Yeah.
Big pick.
Yeah, we're coming. This way.
One of the things is while you're going over to somebody like this, or while you're repositioning, just watch how much you're shooting for the most part.
Big pick.
Yeah, we're coming.
During this time, you could still be contributing to busting Rhine Shield. It doesn't take a lot of effort. It doesn't take a lot of investment. You can still be moving this way, but if you're looking and shooting this way, you're still getting value.
Okay.
Yesterday, I had a VOD review where I think it was yesterday. I don't know. Days are kind of weird right now, but it was the concept I had to explain was always make sure you're doing something, whether it's repositioning, dealing damage, saving a teammate, peeling for a teammate, building ult, whatever. As long as you're doing something, then you're doing something correct. You're at the stage now where once you're in a higher rank, you need to make sure you're of course, obviously always doing something, but the more you can multitask, the better you're going to be. At this point, you are doing something, which is moving this way towards the McCree. At least, I think that was McCree, right? Yeah, so you're moving towards the McCree. But at the same time, you could be investing in busting the Ryan shield or, booping somebody around. It doesn't matter. Something. The more things you can do at once without sacrificing your performance on those things, the better.
Okay.
There was a boost where I wouldn't have, just because the only time I'd boost in a situation like that is if you fire one. It's sort of like, that's sort of how I would have done it, but only if you land one first. You land a direct first, and then you fire next one and then fly up, so that this one, in theory, is a fadeaway, and then you can get them or you cannot. I do it if it's a point where this rocket doesn't matter, so I'd want to disengage anyway. It's just, if it does hit, that's great. If it doesn't hit, whatever. I've already disengaged, so I've done two things at once.
Yeah. Okay.
This is another one of those scary engages. Like, you're going in.
I learned from the last time.
You did disengage, which is great, but you also have to remember that your team's pushing over here, and you're pushing their sort of back sideline or whatever. I
should
normally
be focusing on the tanks more.
Yeah, to an extent. I normally suggest being with the team or focusing who the team is focusing if it's important. In this case, they're trying to push onto point and establish a presence. That means that your spam into point is important. You focusing somebody in the backline could be done by anybody else on your team, so it's less important. If you can, because you're Pharah, right? Your team is all right here. Notice there's 3 people in one spot. If you're providing a harass from above or from a side angle or whatever, that's then forcing the enemy to either address your team and leave you unchecked, or address you and leave all 3 of your team unchecked. So if you're able to split the enemy's attention like that and put them in a bad spot to a point where whatever decision they make is still a bad one, that's when you're really providing value, rather than just...
So just like apply crossfire and...
Apply crossfire, apply pressure. Like, Pharah can just spam from 10 miles away and it doesn't matter, as long as she's hitting people. If she's 10 miles away or 10 feet away, it doesn't matter. 10 miles away just makes you harder to hit. Makes your arrows, or your rockets harder to hit too, but whatever.
And their heels.
See, this is a better example. If you had started off with the team, gotten that Ana pick, and then moved to the McCree like you did here, but just didn't deal with him to begin with, that would be great, because you got a pick and you allowed your team some space and some momentum to push through onto that point, and now you're dealing with whoever will be picking your backline. So you've picked their backline, and now you're saving yours. Even if you don't kill this McCree, you're still pressuring him back. It seems like your team kind of disengaged for some reason. Now you're addressing the McCree a little too much. You're putting a little bit too much time into him.
I don't know. We have lots of...
Okay.
Wow. I'm surprised she didn't have a translocator up.
My aim sucks, dude.
It's not that big of a deal. I don't know how I feel about that nano on you at first, but I guess it worked out alright.
Big slam, big slam.
Yeah, Fran,
The thing with Pharah that you've sort of figured out during this fight is it's okay to shoot a lot as long as you're landing the rockets that matter the most. If there's a total of 3 rockets that need to be landed and you shoot 6 but still land those 3, that's fine, because those other 3 that you missed are, it's sort of like I had a Widow student who would take forever to line up a shot, and I had to explain that it's better to shoot more frequently than it is to take a lot of time to invest in one lined up shot, because even if you're missing those shots, it's still scaring the other enemy Widowmaker, for example, away. Like, if I'm peeking a Widow and she's looking at me but not shooting, I'm just going to shoot her first. If she's shooting really quickly, even if she doesn't hit me, I'm still scared.
Right, okay, I get you.
And since your job is to apply pressure, firing is the easiest way to apply pressure to people. I like how you turn away as if the Ana's gonna headshot you.
Oh yeah, shit, she can't do that.
It's a good habit to get into though. Yeah, if it's a Widow shooting you, like, that could save you. So as long as if you're used to it and it doesn't mess you up that much, go for it.
Nice, dude. Good pick.
I'm dead.
Okay, so this was a good and then a oof example of timing, and so for anybody who plays Tracers, it's sort of the same thing. Notice how the enemy team is busy with your team; they're both engaged, right? If this is your team and this is the enemy team, if you go in to the enemy team without your team there, then all of them can devote their resources to killing you, and they don't lose anything. But if they're in an engagement like this, they have to devote resources to your team. It's the same thing as first point push. So you can go in, get 2 awesome support picks, and then leave if the fight's getting, like you've got 2 people who are leaving the fight, which then, notice how dead, disengaged. Now they're all going to turn to you, and the engagement is now as if your team isn't there because they're not there. So this is when you'd use your concussive blast to get the hell out of there, which you sort of did, but you'd already committed too far to going in. You can still stay in this general area and apply pressure from there. You don't need to necessarily be back here.
Yeah.
Push hard. No. We don't have heals.
So you guys don't have heals, but they didn't have heals. If you had stayed alive back there and kept pressuring them while your team regrouped, you probably could have kept winning.
Okay.
It looks like you might still be able to push it anyway.
McCready, top left. He's gonna dead-eye.
I don't see him.
This is one of those times where you knew where McCree was, you called him out, which is good, but you can still rocket him, even if you're going to miss, to pressure him. So, we'll watch it
I
back.
can grab.
You see him.
McCready, top left.
I would start shooting as soon as you see him, like shoot through this little area here, because you know he's in this rough general area. Since he is, then your rockets may even boop him off of high ground, which could save some of your teammates so he can't look over shield. Or it could make him cancel his high noon because he's scared he's going to die, etc. The worst that can happen is you miss Boohoo.
He's gonna dead-eye.
Yeah.
I don't see him. Have nano, Pharah.
I don't need it. Not yet.
I don't need it. Good job establishing that you don't need nano so they don't overinvest.
Yeah.
Somebody behind, please, somebody shoot at it. I need to heal.
Nice.
Oh, shatter.
Good job, guys.
Someone might come back and kill.
I think that was the first time you've tried to boop their Rhine. If you can do that before a fight starts, that'd be not as good as picking both healers like you did last fight, but it'd still be beneficial because it exposes their 2 healers. Because you've got a Widow.
Okay.
You've got this Widow. The last thing you want is to have her shield bashing, because you're not really shield bashing. You're taking the off angles right now. And if this Widow's not taking off angles, which, I haven't really been paying attention to her, but if she's not, then she's stuck with this Rhine shield. And your 12-second cooldown can basically set her up for success for free.
Yeah. I make it a habit to boop Ryan's after they shatter, just to move them away from my team.
Yeah, boop Rhines after shatter. Ideally, you boop them during or before shatter, so their shatter misses completely.
Yeah.
It seems like your boops are mostly reactionary. So, like, if you're in on a fight, you boop out when you start to die, not before you start to die. You boop a Rhine after he shatters, or, everything like that. If you can play a more, like, playmaking Pharah and a more active Pharah, then you'll be because right now your positioning is based off of where the enemy team can or cannot get to you, and you disengage when they start when they start to get to you. If you can make it so they can never get to you because you're already like one step ahead. I don't know if you've ever had like somebody you're trying to focus as Pharah and you can just never get to them because they're always in a bad spot for you but a good spot for them. That's the manifestation of somebody playing a non-reactionary playstyle. Reactionary playstyle would be a Zen that is standing right here and only starts to move away after you hit them with a direct. A better Zen would just be like chilling back here or whatever, so you couldn't hit them in the first place.
Yeah.
I had a GM Diva that I did a little bit ago, and for Diva, I don't remember who said it, but it applied to them for sure. It was that top tier Divas, this applies to pretty much every top tier hero, have multiple playstyles, while like low GM Divas or Master Divas only have one playstyle. The better you are at switching between multiple playstyles depending on the situation, the better you're going to be. Like I can coach, like if I'm coaching Tracer VODs, there's pretty much one playstyle I coach to. But if I'm doing a high tier Tracer VOD, I coach them on multiple different ones so that they can have multiple tools. Because there's like, before you learn how to use like some really specialized like leather making tool, you first got to learn how to use like an X-Acto knife and a sewing needle. Once you
Yeah.
get used to those tools, then you can apply the more specific ones. Because if you try and apply the specific ones where you don't need to, then you're gonna end up with less effective playstyle as a result.
Okay, I'm gonna use my graph.
Like right there, if you'd booped the Orion forward, you could have bopped him with your normal rockets even further into your team and get a free pick, and then you could go in for a barrage if you really wanted to, or your team could just push through with the momentum, etc.
My barrage is a god tier garbage.
God tier garbage.
Well, bubble me then.
Sway.
So right here, this is
I was expecting a nano or like something.
yeah, it's okay to expect that, but at the same time, you don't want to rely on conditionals. It's okay to like incorporate them in one specific instance, like you did with the nano on first point. But if it's not clearly established, maybe this Anna's planning on nanoing Orion for a shatter, or maybe she's planning on like Reddit Lucioing something. Who knows?
Right.
If she's not like prepared to nano you and you go in and start dying really quickly, she's not ready to make that decision. And maybe she's already made another one and she's like, whatever, Pharah, don't be stupid. So
Yeah.
in this case, this is the example of you're going in and then you're expecting something, but you're not reacting to it. It's weird. I just said to not play a reactionary Pharah, but there's a certain point where once
Sway.
you're still discorded and you're just getting Moira sucked, I would just get out of there ASAP, because you know you're just gonna die whether you knew it or not.
EMP behind, EMP behind.
Yeah.
'Cause you.
I mean, I think I used my boop just before then, so I didn't actually have an option to get out.
Why are we backing out like?
Alright.
Which, you know, if you use it to try and boop their, I think you boop their Zen around. It's like if you used it as an offensive thing.
And I didn't need that.
No, not at all. But Pharah ult isn't the greatest thing ever. So, as I'm sure you know, I think it's okay to use it for a pick or two. Going for like a 6k is never going to work out for you unless your timing is god tier, because 6 people that could die to your barrage are also 6 people that could kill you during your barrage. So
At this point, I just use it as a respawn tool.
yeah, use this respawn tool, sure. I don't think you should try and feed with it. I use it pretty much on cooldown. I treat it like Tracer's Pulse Bomb, where it's like once I get it, I'm now looking for an opportunity to use it. Like pretty much any opportunity. I'm not looking for the perfect 6k blade or perfect 6k whatever. It's like I'm not gonna necessarily wait for grav. If I'm at barrage and she's 80% to grav, as in like has 80% of grav, I'll be like, okay, I'll save it for grav. But if she's 50%, whatever, I'm throwing it out. Or if she has grav and I'm 70% of barrage, it's like, whatever, dude.
Good pick.
Okay.
So it's okay to have garbage barrages so long as you're having garbage barrages frequently. It's as long as you hit the one barrage that matters, it's okay.
That EMP is still, right?
Oh,
He's gonna use shatter.
She's gonna. She's gonna grab. She's gonna grab.
you're taking sort of a front angle to this, which, your team's here, you're up here, you're shooting down on them, your team's shooting forward. If you take this side angle over here, then you're then not only are you hitting them from above, you're also hitting them from a different angle, as in like horizontal angle.
Yeah.
If you're in front of your team but above them, that doesn't really matter that much. You might as well be playing ground fair, because if they're shooting at your team, they can keep an eye on you and then quickly shoot at you whenever. But if you're behind them, then you're forcing them to actually split their attention.
Send low.
Okay.
Send one.
What's
I suppose if they're strafing left and right, then
It's
for me
forward to
coming
backward
a
to
right
you.
angle, it's forward and back. So
Yep, which makes it a lot easier for you. Plus, like, if there's a Genji double jumping, if he's double jumping like this to your team, he's doing it like this to you. That's a lot easier to hit, because you're not having to worry about multiple different axes.
Oh my god, what are you?
Instead of going for this huge flank on this McCree, by the way, you clearly knew he was back here, so I would have called it out first, and then engaged on him when somebody else could go with you. Like, you also get really close to him for some reason. I don't know why you would engage on him point blank. I know it makes it easier to hit your rockets, but at the same time, like, the concept of kiting a McCree seems to have totally fallen by the wayside here. Make sure you're always out of range of this flashbang. Like, always. As a Pharah, you have pretty much no excuse to get in like that.
McCree behind. McCree behind.
okay.
You could have killed him and or distracted him and or not died if you just didn't go right in.
Right. Okay.
I go hug. I'm dead. I gotta push him. I'm dead.
See, this is more of the side angle. See, your team's over here, you're over here. If they're gonna devote attention to you, they can't devote it to your team. This McCree's playing real far back, so if you want to, you can start coming from even further back, so that instead of being to the side of the enemy team but in front of the McCree, you're like on the McCree and behind the enemy team. If you really want to, I don't suggest making that your default, but if you've got somebody who is playing McCree as you would a Tracer, like this dude is, it's something that you should be aware of. He seems to be the biggest clapper of you right now, and you know, you can survive by just kind of ignoring him, but also not ignoring him. I don't know if that makes any sense at all.
No, I get what you mean.
McCree going behind. McCree going behind.
Did you say where's Summer when she's invisible, or is that somebody else?
I don't know.
Okay, so you picked McCree. Now you can play a little safer. You know, you barrage the Rhine. You got something out of your barrage. It's better than nothing.
Keep pushing.
You're not really using it at a time that's important, though. You're using it, again, as reaction. It's like Ryan ulted, then you ult. If you can use it to get 2 picks before a fight starts, then that means that Abracadabra, your team is now 2 up, and you can take that pretty easily.
Okay.
Depending on what those picks are, assuming they're valuable.
Dude.
Good.
So this is a classic scenario of like panicking. You've got a plan, like your plan is just to poke, and then watch your ammo count too. That whole time you're at 1, you could have shot that and then reloaded, and then you get hacked, and then you're still kind of like, what do I do? When you're in that what do I do phase, just always make sure you're shooting people if you're engaged. If you're not engaged, then, you know, don't necessarily reveal your position. Have some discretion there, but when there's nothing else, like even if you're trying to make a decision, then make sure you're making that decision while shooting people.
Okay.
It's like if you're giving a speech and you lose your train of thought, it's better to just loop back around to something you were saying while you think of what you were going to say, rather than just pause and be like,
I'm dead.
I can't, dude. He's fucking hacked.
oh god, dude.
Can't, dude.
Is there even anything that was like EMP, barrier trance? Oh my god. Your mission there when you're nanoed is just to build up barrage, which I guess you did as best you could. There was just so much happening there.
Oh, also, when you asked the first question who was giving me trouble on the enemy team, I thought this was the game with ML7, but it's not.
Okay.
So I suppose it would be the McCree who was giving me the
I
most
figured
trouble.
that out pretty quick. This McCree's your
Okay.
biggest, like since point 1, you and this McCree have had a problem together. You're either overcommitting to him, coming into a spot where he's got the benefit, or just getting clapped by him from some really weird angle.
Alright.
Yeah. Okay.
Because of last VOD, I figure I should ask, do you use a different sensitivity on Tracer than on Pharah?
No.
Okay, sweet. I just figured we clarify that. Because last dude had a slightly higher sense, and I told him to not do that.
You cannot answer the question, why am I playing this hero?
This is an example of an off angle. I'm pretty sure that McCree's looking at you right now. It's kind of hard to tell with the damage boost, but let's see. Yeah, he was. So he was looking at you. The thing with Tracer, do you even want me to analyze Tracer, by the way? Like before I
Go for it.
Okay, I figured I'd ask.
If I can get any tips on any of the DPS to make me less of a one trick, that'd be great.
Okay, sweet. More than happy to. So your team, check. That's good that they're there. Enemy team, check. Good that they're there. You back here, check. Good that you're there. However, the distance between your team and the enemy team is so big, and the distance between you and the enemy team is so small that they can devote all their resources to you and clap you instantly, or you're gonna have to use a lot of your resources to get out of there. So the main idea for Tracer is to be like Tracer players especially need to be aware of the team fight as it progresses, whether it's completely there, not there, whatever. So when you go in as Tracer, you can get like 5 picks and just totally carry. But if you do that when your team isn't engaged at all, then it's not really going to even matter. But if you get 1 pick right before the fight starts, that the enemy team is relying on you not getting that pick, then abracadabra, you've swung the fight in your favor massively. So in this case, when you're going in on whatever team, right? So we'll go back to it. You've now revealed yourself. It's like this McCree's probably planning on doing some weird flanking thing because he's that McCree. But if you want to expose yourself like this, you need to make sure it's when your team is closer because they're barely rounding this first corner here. So the enemy team doesn't even know that they're ready to start attacking at all. And yet they hear you blink too. Like they hear you walking potentially. It doesn't matter. Like when you blink away from this McCree, they're definitely going to hear it because blinking is super loud.
Yeah. Okay.
And then this Mercy is going to be like, oh, they have a Tracer now, and she's going to play around that. If you didn't let them know that you were here, and you didn't let them know that you were on Tracer, you could capitalize on their confusion and their unawareness. Okay, so for Tracer, the biggest thing other than being aware of the engagement stage is your blinks. You need to trade your blinks very, very carefully. You need to trade them for enemy abilities. That is your number one rule as Tracer while you're learning her and while you're getting better at her. In this case, your first blink was to avoid its flashbang. That's great. You've traded one blink that comes on every billisecond for McCree's flashbang, which takes about 20 years. So you're now up in that fight. He's damage boosted, so he can one dink you, but you're now a lot more confident in that fight knowing that he can't flashbang you. This blink, where you blink out of that doorway, was a lot less valuable because you're not trading it for anything and you're putting distance between you two. You don't.
He flashed, I thought.
He flashed right here. That's when he flashes, if you can hear the audio cue. So this is, you can engage right here, and he doesn't have flash. If you're AD crouch spamming, you pretty much win this fight by 2-clipping him. Or, you know, with a Mercy pocket, it could be 3-clip or whatever. Yeah. And if you need to use this cover to avoid a shot that you're worried about, just strafe that way. Don't rely on your blinks to just move around, because Tracers will a lot of the times rely on their blinks to strafe for them, and then they run out of blinks when it actually matters. So it's the same sort of concept as Pharah, where as long as you're blinking when it's crucial, it doesn't matter what you do with the other blinks, but when you're not sure about when it's crucial or not, that's when it gets in this iffy gray area.
Okay. My aim isn't like that good.
You know, a Tracer with garbage aim but god tier mechanics can beat a Tracer with god tier aim and garbage mechanics pretty much every time. So there was a case of you blinking into his flashbang for some reason. I don't know what the deal with that was. Were you planning on like blinking around the corner or something to him?
Yeah.
Okay. I would just like jump strafe around the corner. Like you're getting this is an example of you're trying to do specific Tracer player things when you're not comfortable with the basics of Tracer. So these can sometimes work, these little like strategies, but if you're not sure what you're supposed to do normally, then when you're doing weird out of the box stuff, it can sometimes mess you up. So like right now, you're halfway to recall and you're at 1.5 blinks basically. And that's not a spot you want to be at when overtime's about to start ticking down eventually. Because that means you get basically 1 recall in before the fight and then 1 recall during the fight. If you time them perfectly, you'd rather just be at the point where you get 1 perfect recall guaranteed rather than 2 maybe iffies. There's an example. If you're using a blink to engage, you better make sure that that blink doesn't give your position away more than it otherwise would. You could kill this Zenyatta if you just like didn't blink and then went around here and then blinked directly to him if you wanted to. And then 1-clip him and then you're behind them. Notice how Ryan's now looking at you. You've now made it so that conveniently your Ryan shows up here, which makes it even more sad. More unfortunate, I should say. Now the enemy Ryan is looking at where your team, or in this case you and your Ryan, are coming from, which he wouldn't have otherwise done if you didn't shoot at him. So your team was getting an off angle, but now it's their front line.
Behind.
Did you hit your desk?
I think that was more of a relax of the arm rather than a hit. No, it was a hit. It was a hit.
I was like, that sounds like a hit to me. It's so delayed too. I love it. It's just like I can hear I can imagine your sigh like dunk. Like oh my god. Okay, so
my parents are glad that I'm out of the house.
Jesus, dude. If you have a roommate, I feel bad for them. Just doom.
I don't. I live by myself, so it's all good.
So you can hit your desk to your heart's content. But this is another example of, you know that they have this backline McCree that's always somewhere back here. You're never sure where, but always somewhere.
Yep.
And the fight's happening over here. Overtime's about to happen. Tracer's really good in overtime, but you're in the backline, which is where your counter is, which is not where the fight is. I shouldn't have to go in depth as to why that's a problem. You'd rather be where you just were by the Rhine and Zen than back here. It would keep you from being flashbanged by the dude who's ready for a high noon. Since he's behind and he just flashbanged killed you, you called out that he's behind, but since this is overtime, I'd call out that he may or may not have high noon. If he does have high noon and your team prepares for it, that could save this fight. If he doesn't have high noon and your team just plays around the fact that he might, that's okay because now they're playing safer. It's better to be safe than sorry in that case. The sigh.
Okay, I got it there, don't worry.
Up nano, up nano. Don't say nine,
Can we
let's
get-
go. Up nano, let's
get-
go.
Okay, so you're using blinks for locomotion or to get to the point, which is okay, but you need to make sure that when you get to said point, you have enough blinks to be effective at said point. There's a lot of times where tracers go, specifically during overtime, they blink in and they're like, oh, I need to contest, but then when they get to payload, they don't have any blinks to actually contest with, so they're left to just sit there and then recall, which puts them way off of the payload because they used 3 blinks to get there, and then they contested for a whole half a second and nothing else. So right here, now that you're around this corner, you shouldn't be blinking at all, just because you need to save them. It doesn't look like it's going to matter, but, you know, if you did have to engage, you'd be at 1 blink and then barely 2. So it could have ended pretty poorly for you if the enemy team could actually like do something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you did
It's
it.
okay. We
Nice.
pushed it all the way and I did nothing on Tracer.
You need to reload. Right here. 3, 3, 3, 3.
Ryan, Genji.
Genji, yeah.
Notice how now you're sacrificing time shooting when it would have been a lot more beneficial to be shooting.
Yeah, okay.
The thing with Pharah, especially, Pharah and McCree are probably the 2 I say it the most on. Sometimes Widow. But your ammo count is super important because your reload takes surprisingly long, and it doesn't take that long to go through 6 shots, especially with the new Pharah changes coming out. You're going to go through them even faster. So, that'll be fun, by the way.
I know, right?
So make sure your reloads come at a time where it's beneficial for you. You don't ever want to reloading is the one thing that you can always guarantee is in your control. I don't even think there's a time where it wouldn't be in your control unless I'm trying to unless there's some really odd fringe case. Most of the time it's in your control. So make sure that you're never in a spot like this where you need to reload and you're sacrificing effective anything for it.
I think they're going right side.
I think I saw Genji going left off of the
That was Doomfist going behind.
Doomfist or Genji. I don't know. His walk looked weird.
I think they're going right side.
Oh no, it's Genji.
That is Genji. Okay, sweet. I was right. I was like,
I thought it was Doomfist.
I was like, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. It could be Doomfist, could be Genji, could be McCree. There's somebody back here. Call that out to your team. Take a mental note of it. Like, be like, okay, there's somebody there. But don't necessarily act on it yet because I don't want to see you go down in there and then tunnel him like you did the McCree and then just get clapped on. Or if you don't get clapped on, you're still not doing whatever's going on over here, which is more important for you as a Pharah. You're still not taking the side angles. I'd suggest being like up by these red things because then as the team's pushing in, you get a free exposed backline to deal with. Because right now you're having to deal with the Rhine shield in the way and them positioning safely versus your team. If they position safely versus your team, they're also positioning safely versus you. You want to make it so they can't position safely versus either of you, or at least one over the other.
Double barrier.
Genji on the back.
Where did he go?
The Genji.
Genji on the
Yeah, he was just like riding you or something. What was that? Anyway, when you get to a spot like this where you're playing ground fire, you're discorded. What was your plan for that boop there?
Just throw off Sombra's aim.
Okay, when you're throwing off somebody's aim with a boop, make sure that they're actually aiming at you first. Watch the Sombra.
Double barrier.
No, she was aiming at the Anna. I was trying to save her Anna.
Okay, I thought you were trying to save yourself. Either way, okay. I was like, anyway, Anna dies. Your boop there sort of worked. If you're trying to throw off her aim, your normal concussive, like normal rocket, will also do that. As you know, a player who's have to dealt with that, it does throw you off more than you might think. Even being booped by your like actual concussive blast isn't that big of a deal because it's just one quick adjustment, which is the same as your normal rocket. That'll also make me adjust once very quickly. The best aim disruptor in the game is Orissa's halt, because it sucks you to one spot, which is one adjustment that you need to do, and then you're slowed, which is another long-term adjustment you need to make, and then you're back up to normal speed, which is a third adjustment you need to make. So if I'm trying to shoot somebody and I get Orisa halted, I'm not shooting them until I'm speeding at my normal movement speed again.
Yeah.
So your concussive blast could have been better used to boop them off of you, to boop the Sombra and Genji duo off of you, or potentially boop Sombra off into the water if she doesn't have her translocator up, which she should. But, you know, you could boop her off of high ground. That's probably the better use of it. You know, any number of things. But your intentions weren't wrong. It was good to try and save your Anna, but you could have done it in a less highly invested way.
Sombra's still behind.
Yeah.
We should switch to Winston Winston Diva.
We lost because Anna was there, but I don't know.
Yeah, but if they have a Sombra, then
Oh no, this is the game with Genji.
Winston's a good
Just on
counter to that.
defense.
Okay, I'm gonna use my grab.
Do you constantly get clapped by Genjis? Is this a trend?
Not constantly, but I can't hit them for the life of me.
Okay. It'll help a ton if you start taking those off angles. You'll be able to hit them a lot more easily.
Okay.
The biggest reason you probably can't hit them is because double jump. Double jump is like the bane of every projectile player's existence, but the like cherry on top of every hit scan player's like existence.
Yeah.
Double jumping super easy to track, but it's really difficult to predict, especially with slow projectiles. You know, enjoy the Pharah changes where it'll be even more important to hit those directs on a double jumping Genji.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to spend more time in FFA.
More time in FFA, more time practicing those off angles, more time practicing like little tiny peek holes or whatever. God, it's gonna be rough, man.
Yeah, I'll live.
You'll manage. If you apply stuff that I've said today, then you should still be fine. So this is an example of you're engaged on one person, but you still have sightlines to somebody who you don't want to have sightlines to while you're engaged. So you're trying to kill Genji, but Anna has a sightline to you. If you can make it so only the person you're trying to kill can see you, then you're saving yourself a lot of the trouble. Because like right now, you're flying around in the air. Notice how your air movements are pretty easy to track. You're mostly moving in one direction while staying roughly the same elevation. That makes it super easy for a hit scan to track you. Especially in Anna, who has a scope. If you want to sort of like mess up somebody who's trying to hit you that way, sort of like wiggle back and forth in the air, not like strafe, because you know it's air movement, so it's different. But if you're going one way and you're gonna change, drop down and then go back up, sort of like this weird, like almost like a figure 8 shape, or an infinity sign. That makes you really hard to track because your character model, when you're boosting one way, is sort of like slants. You know, like how Lucio has this weird skating side angle thing?
Yeah.
Pharah also kind of does that in the air. So if you can play off of that, like your perspective doesn't look like you're doing much, but to the enemy hit scan, it looks like you're flying all over the place. So that'll potentially save you when somebody's trying to... Oh. Okay. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god, dude. What was that? Sounded like the intro to like an indie rock song or something. Like
Right, the first smack is my mouse.
well, it sounded metallic. Did you like hit a lampshade?
Yeah, it's the bottom of my mouse. And then the other two are my fist.
Oh my god, are you hitting your right fist twice, or are you going like doom doom with like left hand right hand kind of thing?
No, I don't do the XQC.
Oh my god, dude. I was like, are you about to like bitch slap your keyboard? Oh my god. Jesus.
Now I have a working spacebar.
Up here.
God, dude.
I'm stuck on a wall.
Angelo.
Oh my god. Yeah, at this point, if you were me, I would have to take a break after this game, just because even though I'm not like constantly angry, there's like, it's like, no, I'm fine, but I'm really not fine. Like, I'm ready to be angry at the smallest little thing that shouldn't otherwise make me angry.
Yeah.
Like I'll get to the point where if I miss a rocket I thought I should hit, I'll do the doom slam thing or whatever. And it's like, dude, that's so petty, but at the moment it's like everything just tilts me. If you're that same way, then taking a break could be probably like the best advice I can give you. Like,
Yeah, I haven't really learned how to do that yet.
yeah, I still haven't, so it's totally fine. It's a do as I say, not as I do type of thing.
Yeah.
This is an example where while you're committing to these two in the back, you can still be shooting at the Zarya who's in the front line. She's like obscured by your rocket launch right now.
Below me.
Yeah.
Kommer du här?
So like you're pressuring them back right now, which is awesome. Now they can't do anything. Your job's done. Going back is great for the Sombra. This Sombra's had like some unlucky or some unfortunate positioning errors on her part. She walks into all of your missiles.
We need to push.
Oh my god. Like right there.
It's dude.
Right there, that boost would have tilted me. Like when you boost into this little like coffee cup,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been like,
He's out.
I think we need to push. We have Lucio.
Like, why is it there, dude?
you know, you've figured it out pretty quickly, but the geometry of the maps is fair as like bane of existence. So if you
Yeah.
don't hug cover like buddying up right up next to it, then you don't really have to worry about stuff like that or the weird like tree thing. It seems like it only happens to you when you're doing something that's out of your norm. Like when you're up here, for example, over by these rooftops, you didn't really get stuck on anything, and it seems like you've done that before and you're familiar with that. But when you're in a spot where it's like you're boosting up over this for some reason, I can tell that you haven't had to do that a lot because you got hit by the coffee cup and you're like, oh, god damn it, dude. So
Yeah.
that comes from just, experience of being in those weird spots. But also, if you do have trouble with those, then you can try and stay, if you are in an unfamiliar spot, try and stay more in an open area. Like if you're back by these bushes, don't be right up in the bush, be in the more open path. Because the Genji doesn't really care if you're in a corner versus not in a corner. He'd rather you be in the corner. So,
Let's go.
Oh my god.
Fuck me, dude. Just as I'm about to fucking barrage.
At least you didn't barrage there.
Fuck me, dude.
Yeah.
This is an example of your boost is on an unfortunate cooldown here because you boost up right there. But
They don't. We need to push.
if you're going in for a barrage like this, you can still use this high ground right here with your normal normal fuel thing to get above the range of the Sombra EMP. Because every time you're going in for a grav, she EMPs like to cancel your barrage pretty specifically, or cancel a shatter or whatever. So if you're aware of the fact that they're using EMP to counter your grav, which is a good trade on their part, then you can play out of her EMP, barrage into the grav, and then still get value off of it and essentially make her EMP worthless.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, see, her range is like right here. So if you were a little higher or a little bit over here, or higher and over here, you would have been fine.
Ah, fuck me,
I don't know
dude.
if my VOD's frozen.
Are you sure? If it is, you can reload it, or I can reload it.
Are you playing it?
Yeah, I have it paused right now on the tab screen. Like,
I'll just
now it's
reload.
playing.
Bear with me.
I'll go back to roughly where we were.
Internet isn't great.
That's fine. What up, gay boy? Yeah, thanks, Dex. Thanks for showing up, dude. I'm the video game boy. I don't know what that means, but welcome, I guess. Pharah can't kill you as a McCree if you're halfway across the map. I mean, yeah, she can. That's like my entire point. The McCree's always like barrel stuffing, so the McCree's always gonna have the advantage there. Have you reloaded, by the way?
It's taking its time.
If I start playing
Ah,
now,
fuck me, dude.
you good or
No,
not?
I've got a loading wheel.
Hmm.
Oh no, here we go. Oh wait, no, never mind.
Just as I'm about to fucking barrage.
Huh?
That's a pain.
Manga S? Okay. Let me do this real quick. I'll end this real quick. Let's see what time are we at. 12:42. I'll end that session. I'll start a new one that's in the same spot.
Cool.
I'll send you a new Mayhem link, but I need to grab the VOD again too. Was it 10:42, 11:42, 12:42? I don't know, man. I totally forgot.
I think you just said 12:42.
Is it 12:42?
Get it, get it.
Yeah, it is 12:42. Okay, so here is the new link. Bam.
Lovely.
And then we'll put this back to that.
What? I'm still getting Oh no, here we go. Lovely.
Yeah, see, I had it paused, so now he's good for it. All right, so this is where you just died. We're in the same spot.
Yep.
Look at that.
Nice Zarya.
Okay, gonna.
This is an example of your team's sort of trickled right now, and they're coming in behind you. You don't want to engage too early because if you do, then you'll get clapped by the enemy team, and then your team will just be. That's why I paused it there and said. Because I'm guessing you're gonna go for like a boost up and concussive blast thing or something. Oh, yeah, there we go. There's both of them.
I got
There's,
crapped on by the environment.
you got crapped on by the environment, but you also got crapped on by like just. You were in
The
a
Genji.
Yeah, you were
And
playing.
my positioning.
You're playing low ground Pharah. Your timing was off. They were happy to clap you. There's two people who counter you if you're low ground, especially. But you know, if you're in the air, Genji can't do a whole lot against you. But you're playing low ground, so he can.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, this is one of those things where now that you're tilted, you're starting to make more basic mistakes, and those just tilt you even more.
Mm-hmm.
What? Wait, what was that? So you concussive there. What?
I get bad ping issues. It's actually been really bad today, but I guess it only happened once in this game, where the game will just freeze for a second.
Oh my god, it looked like you tried to concussive blast twice. What the hell was that? I've never seen that before.
Well, shit, it did.
Yeah,
What the
that's
hell?
what I was talking about. I was like, what the hell?
That's weird.
Did you? It looked even like you aimed that concussive blast too. It's like this one. It's like, okay, we're going over here, and then we're just gonna normally concussive blast again. Like, okay. Let me watch your ammo count here. I need to see. Okay, so you've shot once. You're at 5, and then you barrage and you're still at 5. That's a problem. You should be barraging at 4 because you can fire a rocket right before you barrage for some free extra damage, and right as you end barrage if you're holding left click. So do that, get some free extra damage in. You'll be surprised how much it makes a difference. You can also concussive blast right before you barrage if you need to get a Reinhardt out of the way. Pharah doesn't have a whole lot of animation cancels, but those are pretty much the only important ones. Again, there's the more aboriginal drumming, but it's a case like it's a barrage that you put into Orion Shield on point, low ground on point with your team all dead. Like, it's tilting in the moment, but in retrospect, it's like, of course you were gonna die.
Yeah, that's most of my barrages.
Like, like with so much drumming, I'd definitely take a break after this game.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just died already. Again, you're peeking up. You've got sightline to Anna. She's just gonna shoot at you. You don't have any cover that's vertical. You only have horizontal cover, which you don't want to drop below because then, because then you have to use a lot of resources to get back up over it. If you've got something right here, you can just strafe back and forth, and then you can peek her in between your shots, and then abracadabra.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Like how she threw like a last-ditch nade too. Where did she? Oh, she got the glitch of the translo. I hate that translocator glitch.
I get that constantly.
Dude, I get it all the time. I absolutely hate it. I have absolutely no idea where anybody goes. This is another example of, it's another graph EMP wombo combo.
Yeah.
At this point, it's happened so many times that you should just expect it as fact. So you don't necessarily know when when your Zarya's gonna grab, but you don't know that because you're not pressing tab very often. Once you make that connection that grav EMP is a thing, start pressing tab, not to see when your Zarya has grab, but more of to see when the Sombra is going to be EMPing, because then you know to stay above the fight.
We kill them now?
If this serves as anything, it serves as a great example to show why it's good to be above and to the side of the fight, rather than to be to the side and in the fight, or just above the fight.
Nice one.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there's no desk hitting at this point. It seems like it'd be another tilting moment. Oh, we finally got a Mercy. You know,
Yeah.
I guess. But your entire team switched up, so rip any ults you had.
Nice, dude.
Nice.
We need.
Fucking Genji, so.
Okay, get destroyed, dude.
Play aggro.
Just peace out, yeah. That's one of those times where it's totally cool to leave voice if your team's not being constructive. I didn't hear any important callouts. If anything, you were the only one making them, which if you're not getting tilted by voice and you're making callouts, you should be in it. But if you're making callouts and your team doesn't seem to act on them, which your team doesn't seem like they are, then you want to stay out of it just to save your mental anguish.
Yeah, I couldn't take it at that point.
Yeah, it's like you're tilted, they're tilted. It doesn't really help anybody. Again, you've now dropped into low ground, which seems to be your favorite spot during an actual engagement. It seems like you're poking from in the air, which you can poke from like just normal high ground when you're standing, and then when you get into a fight, you drop down. So you might as well be playing Junkrat and then get better close range options. So use your.
I only dropped because they were about to cap point.
Yeah, which makes sense, but at the same time, they got a lot of free cap before you actually dropped. Like, they got half of what they need to get just because you were above poking, and you're not in team, so you can't call out that they're capping. So it's just kind of like up to you guys to figure it out individually. Oh, this is Doomfist, dude. Again, here's an example of your low HP low ground. Oh. I was waiting for that. I saw you was there we go. But like,
my best moment.
It's again with the low ground. If you're playing low ground, you're exposing yourself to pretty much their entire team. Like the only person who can really get you if you're up in the air is this Anna. Sombra can poke you, but her spread's so garbage, it's not going to be a big threat. So this team comp is basically the perfect Pharah comp because you can just dunk on them from outer space if you're using your cover properly, which Blizzard World doesn't really give you a lot of options, but even though you don't have a lot of options, you still don't want to be on the ground if they're going to clap you when you're on the ground.
Yeah.
Another example of you playing really, really close to them. This Zenyatta, he's not going to hit you with very many orbs if you're anywhere above him at all. But since you're so close, you're going to get discorded and orbed super easily. And it's totally preventable. If you die here, it's going to be because you're just playing point blank. Because he's occupied with something else? Oh. That would annoy me. Okay. Again, dropping right into it. If you got EMP'd there, I would have been completely unsympathetic because it's like the fifth grav that you've gone point blank into. Especially, you've got barrage. They're in one spot. You can afford to barrage from higher up in the air. Like, I don't suggest actually raining it from above because the spread and the travel time and everything. But in the case of a grav, it's fine. Like, at best even, the spread will be so big it'll go around the Rhine shield if he tries to shield you and still hit people behind him. But if you're right here, he just turns to look at you. And then your whole barrage is eaten up. I think that was the
Yeah,
first.
I tend to get too close with the barrages. I probably could have landed the barrage earlier, where I got hacked, because I could have just done it from further away.
Yeah.
'Cause it didn't look like the Sombra was going for me with the hack,
Yeah.
because I got caught by the edge of it.
Even if you get hacked out of a barrage, honestly, barrage isn't a Pogger's ult anyway, so it's okay to be hacked out of it as long as like if you barrage, get a few rockets off, get a pick or two, and then get hacked out of it. You might think, oh, dang, man, I didn't get the full 6k, but you still got 2, which historically is better than you'd normally get. I like how Sombra said hey there before actually EMPing. Again, with the low ground Pharah, I've said that a ton. You're not really ever playing up here. You're not ever really playing up by this blue roof. You're just kind of playing this little, like, haystack thing, which, you know, like Hanzo could be just wall climbing up and then poking from, or you know, any other hero. So
Yeah.
you're utilizing Pharah's kit to do something that pretty much any other kit can do, and that's kind of like
Right.
you're not playing to Pharah's strong suits. There you go.
My ultimate is ready. Come on.
Because notice there's this nice little wall right here that you can peek in and out of, or there's this nice little roof right here you can peek in and out of, rather than there's this garbage little tiny thing down here that you can drop below. That boost, now that you know Doomfist is in this general area, that boost is pretty sketchy because you might need it to get out of Doomfist, because your concussive blast is kind of iffy because sometimes he has like movement hyper armor, sometimes he doesn't. It's really weird depending on what animation he's in. So your rocket boost though, or I don't, are they called like jump jets or something? I don't know what the technical term for them is. It's like a stupid name, but you know, not a whole lot you can do when you're 1v1ing a Sombra like that. You do the right thing of going for her feet though, because if you're going to try, we'll try and pause it at a good moment here. If you try and shoot directly at her, it's either a 0 or a 120, which you don't ever really want to fully hyper commit to something like that if you can avoid it. Aw, I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Oh, that is horrible. If it gets to a point like that, I'd recommend just shooting during that, because like that's just like a ton of packet loss happening, and if you shoot, you may or may not actually register it, but it doesn't hurt, because if you accidentally hit somebody, awesome.
Yeah. I think I was shooting, but it freezes my player model as well for me.
Yeah, it freezes your player model, but it doesn't freeze it to the enemies. So like if you're moving forward and shooting, you'll still be moving
Yeah,
forward.
I know what you mean. I know what you
Yeah,
mean.
super weird. But anyway, is there anything I touched on that you want me to clarify more on?
No, I think I understood it all. Like, what do you think are my main pointers as like a sum up?
Like the one thing that if you didn't do anything else but this, you'll improve the most?
Sure, why not?
Can I cheat and make it like a compound sentence with like a comma in there? Because there's two things that are probably the biggest.
I literally want like a sum up, so like a list form or whatever. Like,
Okay, then we'll do it like this. You can screenshot this too. I'll make it like an actual like typed up list. So the
That'd be
number one
great, dude.
thing is timing of engagements. Oh god. And it's the typing of this is garbage. Engagements. There we go. Timing engagements. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, whatever. Ignore the spelling of that. I get a really tiny window to type it. Whatever. Timing engagements, as in like if you're going in with your team, you need to make sure that you're going in at the right time to get a pick that actually matters, and it'll change the swing of the fight. Because if you just get a pick, then that's one thing. But if you get a pick on a support at the beginning, that's huge. If you get a pick on a half health tank at the end, that doesn't really matter that much. The second thing is taking off angles more often, like just all the time, especially like in the air. Because if you're in the air and you're on an off angle, that divides the enemy's attention, and that's what Pharah is really good at. And then I think I said I'd do 3 points. And the third one is probably, it's not necessarily related to your gameplay, but if you get tilted, take a break. Because as somebody who struggles with that too, it doesn't matter if you do point 1 and point 2. If you don't like if you're too angry to like focus really hard, then it doesn't matter, and then you're just gonna keep spiraling down, down, and down. And the last thing you want is to have you drop from GM to master just because you were angry one day, because that just sucks. So
I was there earlier this week. Well,
I was not surprised, in all honesty, not surprised. And now you're like 4 point whatever. It's like you're probably feeling good about yourself, and then if you get tilted again, you'll probably drop back down to like 4K.
yeah.
If you can keep that out, then you notice that the highest tier players typically don't tilt super hard, and if they do tilt super hard, they have an outlet like XQC or whatever where he just shrieks for like a minute and then he's good. And like if he gets really tilted, like he'll just stop. So be aware of that. What's T? I have T.
Unless he's deciding to play McCree in Masters, that's always good fun to watch.
Yeah, or if he's playing Winston and just feeding and has his stream upside down in inverted colors. Don't get to that point. He has to do it because he gets paid to, but you don't get paid to, so take a break.
Oof.